Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to another video here on Cluiche with me, Séamus Brady, your host. I'm joined by Luke Peyton and Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman. The Allianz Football Leagues kicked off this weekend. We also had the Lidl LGFA Leagues round 2 this weekend as well. Absolutely sensational weekend of Gaelic football action across the country. We had some massive upsets, some really unexpected results as well, but isn't that what we expect from the Allianz Leagues at the end of the day? Luke, what did you make of the weekend? Not a bad old start to the leagues.
Yeah, good start and a lot of competitive games, a lot of one-score games as well. So, yeah, tough conditions. Again, like first week of the league, not a lot you can expect like to take from it later in the season. Some managers, interestingly, went stronger than others, and some really kind of treated it as a early preseason type game, and then others had everyone drafted in Mickey Hart. So, yeah, no, it was an interesting start, a few good games as well, and definitely a few talking points already.
Yeah, no doubt. Matthew, what did you make of it?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, lads. Yeah, in fairness, it was a brilliant weekend. Brilliant weekend up and down the country, considering the results as well. It's like even with predictions, I'm looking back at it, I got only one right in Division 1, and that was Tyrone
I
beating
got one
Roscommon.
right. Did you say
Yeah,
only Tyrone beating Roscommon as well?
yeah,
I said that as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
And what was so
Yeah,
annoying, lads, the first preview that we did here on Cluiche with Sinead Farrell, I actually said in that preview that I thought that Derry would beat Kerry. And for some reason, I changed my mind and I officially backed Kerry. And then I was watching the Derry game with my head in my hands, just thinking, why on earth did I switch? But like, Glass wasn't playing at that time. McFall wasn't playing. Ethan Doherty wasn't playing in my head. But yeah, I suppose that is the fitting place to start. So hop in with the top division, Division 1, and go straight to Austin Stack Park, where Kerry went up against Derry. And I mean, everybody was tuning into this game. Conor Glass, not a bad week for him. Obviously, you seen he got engaged as well. So massive congratulations there. I mean, an All-Ireland Club Championship win with Glen, where he plays extraordinary in the final. Then he gets engaged. Then he, scores the first point for Derry in this game. I mean, the man can do no wrong. Derry won this game, but as you said, Luke, it was clear Derry went more for this game in terms of the players that they included rather than Kerry.
Yeah, like I just thought it was really weird that he was playing. To be honest, like I don't know, he's been on the go non-stop. Like even remember last year when I went back when Rory Gallagher was manager, that it was similar situation happened where all the Glen lads were brought in straight away, and yeah, I don't know. Like, I think, look, they wanted to start off the season right and everything like that as well. But, like, I know I'm not the first thing I'm dwelling on here isn't the match itself, but, like, I think it was 13 of last season's starting 15s played in that game. And, like, we know that Derry have a really strong starting 15, but at the same time, like, they do need to find a bit of depth, and that is kind of I think their bigger issue there, surely. So yeah, it was a bit surprised with the team selection. I think a lot of the fellas that did quite well in the Ulster preseason league were kind of overlooked as well for the Glen lads. So I thought that was a bit strange, but look, at the same time, Mickey might have been looking at it saying that look, we're going down to Kerry. He can blood players in some of the home games later on as the league goes on, and just wants to start off the league right with a win against Kerry. And yeah, look, they were probably fortunate in the end based on what happened in the end to get the win. That like Kerry had chances, probably could have edged it, but then at the same time, on the overall reflection of the game, Derry were more dominant, and barring the two late goals, like they would have been quite comfortable.
Yeah, and Matthew, one of the maddest things that I noticed about this game, and then obviously give me your opinion on the game in your answer too, but the two goals, Dylan Casey and the goal chance for Jason Foley, and Graham O'Sullivan was spent most of the second half up in the full forward line. Like, what was going on there?
It was hard to know really, and on the Derry instance there, and how Kerry lined out, it was clear Derry just wanted the game more, and that's a very good start there by Luke. It's saying that 13 out of 15 played for Derry. You would have expected maybe Lachlan Murray to get a start, Dan Higgins in midfield, but just they were overlooked, and it's just a shame in many ways that Derry didn't blood more talented the team like Kerry did, like Killian Burke, Dylan Gainey, all them players. Obviously, the two Cliffords, I see them up with the crowd in Killarney, or Tralee, should I say? Wrong stadium there. But yeah, it was quite a refreshing Kerry team seeing Sean O'Shea full forward as well, who didn't really do well in open play, but he was still causing a lot of problems in the full forward line, like he did in the McGrath Cup final last week. And yeah, I think Kerry have an outlet there to have Sean O'Shea in full forward, and they're testing him a small bit. Sean O'Brien is another player that got a bit of a run out. And the first goal in particular from Conor Gainey for Kerry was just a weird one. Like Gord Lynch going out of the goal, and then bang, Gainey gets the goal. And that's another player that hasn't really got a look in for Kerry. He got the look in on Saturday night, and he got the goal. And funnily enough, some people were actually arguing this, that Kerry were at a better stage than Derry towards the end of the game, because Kerry blooded more players in, Derry didn't. And overall, as the year goes on, I think that would suit Kerry a lot more going down the route of the championship. But it was a disappointing night for Kerry overall in terms of the defeat. But for Derry, me and you said on my own podcast, Séamus, I didn't expect Conor Glass, Kieran McFowler, Doherty to play in this game at all. We just completely wiped it out of the system there. And no, they played anyway, and that was a shock. And especially the journey down to Tralee. It's not really a picnic either. So I don't know, it was just a bit of a weird one from Mickey Hart in general. But they start off the league right, and unlike Kerry and Dublin and Galway, who we'll get on to later, they have 2 points at the board now.
Well, that's it. And I mean, like, when it's a great point you make about were Kerry in a better state at the end of the game because they blooded in the likes of Conor Gainey, Killian Burke, got minutes into Sean O'Shea at full forward. They have more options going into the championship. And I think it could be a case of, did Derry win the battle, but will they win the war later on in the year? Like that type of thing, that if you win in the league and then you're miles off them in championship, or you don't beat them in championship, that win counts for way less than it would have if you were able to turn them over in championship. But like, I'll put that point across to you, Luke. Like, if you're Mickey Hart and you're Derry in that situation, coming back up the road, are you saying, well, we beat Kerry, correct, but we had everybody there. Like, everybody that is a vital player for Derry really was there for that game. And they won by a point, a last-minute free against Kerry, who were without the Clifford brothers. The Clifford brothers are worth more than a point. So if you're Mickey Hart coming back from Derry, even though they won, are you thinking that they still have more work to do to be able to beat them in Croke Park at the business end of the year?
Well, look, I think as a Derry fan, I'd be a little bit worried now. I would be a little bit worried by it. But the only thing I can think of is that that they really wanted to start the year with a win, and that they knew that going down to Tralee Matthew talked about the travel down. They're playing an away game in Tralee. It's probably the furthest possible game that they could have had in the country. There's nowhere further they could have gone. And they really said, look, we're really up against it here. We just need to pack a team here and just start off the league right. And then, like, if that was the case, and then maybe in games coming up that he starts blooding players, then all of a sudden, say if there's like 5 or 6 changes for next week, then maybe fair enough. But if this is a continuous trend where the strongest 15 is put out every single week, and the likes of Glass and the likes of these fellas, Brendan Rodgers and all these fellas, are given no weeks off and they're expected to play every single week, I think you're completely right in what you're saying, and that, like, they might have a decent league, but there's no way that they can go sustain that for an entire year with the amount of fixtures there are on at the moment now in the Gaelic. And like you said, look, I think Kerry will continue to do what they're doing, that they'll slowly reintroduce some of the lads like the 2 Cliffords and some of the other fellas that are to come back in, but they'll keep going with those fellas. And look, give it like another month or two's time, they'll be in an awful lot better shape if they stick to that than Derry will.
Yeah, I do think, look, Derry and Kerry for me are absolutely All-Ireland contenders, and like a game like that is going to be crucial. And Matthew, we were talking about potential shadow box, and I don't really think there was any real shadow boxing going on from Derry's side. They played their full hand. They showed everything that they're about. Kerry didn't. Do you think that they'll be happier in that regard?
I genuinely think it's a bit of both, really, because Kerry, they lost at home, which was their fortress last season. Like, they won every game at home, and that's where they got the points, and that's ultimately why Kerry stayed up quite comfortably in Division 1. Now they have a loss at the board. There's a lot of pressure going to the next game for Kerry, so there's that too. But at the same time, when you don't have David Clifford, and you don't have Paddy Clifford, and you don't have many others as well, they only still lost by a last-minute Shane McGuigan point from a free. Mm-hmm. So against the first Derry team. So I think Jack O'Connor would be I think he'd be delighted with the progress that Kerry are making. The fact that they got caught to a penalty shootout of the McGrath Cup and only lost to the first Derry team, let's be honest, by a point. So I think with the players they're blooding in, the likes of Killian Burke, the likes of the big Kerry lads, the Milltown Castlemaine fellas, the Fossil lads, I think Kerry would be absolutely delighted with that. But for Derry, you would have expected to for them to play a few fringe players, considering they got to the Ulster 20 final last year. They won the All-Ireland Minor Championship last season. There's clearly talent coming through in the Derry team, but Mickey Hart doesn't seem to realise that yet. But I just wonder with Mickey Hart, is this just a 2-year project or is it a 3-year project to go all full throttle to go on and win the All-Ireland rather than blooding in the youth? I really wonder. And maybe if they win the title, which Mickey Hart might target at the end of March or April, I think maybe that's a national trophy in Croke Park. That's what Mickey Hart might be targeting as well. So he might be targeting a lot more right now, and it might be a 2-year project, whereas Kerry are building up a lot of youth players and they're not afraid to bring them in.
Well, that's it. And like, it's a great point. You'd wonder, are Kerry trying to build for a dynasty 3-4 years? And are Derry doing what you would call in boxing, say, cashing in? Like, okay, we've got the team now. We're going to bring in Mickey Hart. Bang. We're just going to try winning All Ireland in the next year or 2 years at most. And if it doesn't work, well, then we'll go back to building for future years. But I think they are trying to cash in on the team that they have now and winning All Ireland. It's a very, very good point. Bringing us on to our next game, and this one grabbed all the headlines as well. No surprise that it did when you look at it. Monaghan went to Croke Park and beat Dublin by 3-9 to 114. Luke, as a dub, it gives off memories, doesn't it, of 2 years ago when Armagh came to Croke Park and beat Dublin. And it's definitely a result that Dublin need to bounce back from. Like, Monaghan were incredible on the day, but Dublin weren't at their best.
No, and I think it's the same issues that we keep seeing every year in the league for Dublin, is that like we've been saying it for the past 2 or 3 years, that when the big players go, that Dublin are in trouble. And like, thankfully, I think we're all kind of shocked that a few of the faces stuck around for this year. I think after the All-Ireland last year, I think like people were thinking maybe that was McCarthy, Fitzsimons, Cluxton gone, like, and then all of a sudden, like, they're still back again, and so the team will probably be grand when we get the championship again. But like some of those lads that are supposed to be kicking on now at this stage and becoming players that can kind of rise up and take those positions, like they're just not at the level. Like, and you don't want to name fellas too much, but like the likes of Sean McMahon and Keane Murphys and stuff, and these lads, they really need to kind of, if they want to make it, they do have to start kicking on. And like, the young players get introduced now regularly as well, and like, it is just, I just don't see the replacements coming through for Dublin. Like, you look at Ross McGarry as well, has been given so many opportunities, but I can't recall a single game for Dublin where he's looked really good and looked like an inter-county player. So like, I think a lot of these lads, they've been tried a lot, they've been given an awful lot of opportunities, but it just isn't there, and it's just never going to be there. So that's a bit worrying from a Dublin perspective. But like, at the same time, I think, look, they'll be grand as the league goes on. They'll pick up enough wins. They'll probably stay up in the mid-table spot or something. But and then they'll be grand once championship comes back again too. But like, I would be worried about the depth a lot, and I really think now with Davy Byrne not being around, they do need to find the fullback. I know Theo Clancy came on, and I'd like to see him get a few more games at fullback. But it's just the only worry for Dublin, is that like there's the stars, and then like there's a serious drop off in depth in the depth chart anyway. But then at the same time, Monaghan did look good. Like, I know it was only a 1 point win in the end, but they did look good while missing players too. And look, and it's just the last thing I want to say, just Stephen O'Hanlon is an absolute joy to watch. Like, he was absolutely brilliant, and constant torn in Dublin's side the whole way through. And like, you see the only man that can outrun Jack McCaffrey is just pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And his goal, like, to finish it, the first half, absolute rocket past David O'Hanlon into the net, 2-2 to 1-5 at halftime. Monaghan went in level after that goal from Stephen O'Hanlon. And look, we've always known he was coming. Do you know what I mean? Like, that catch over Johnny Cooper in the 2019 league, and that goal that he scored, like, that was the first time I noticed him. what I noticed the other night was his leadership. Anytime Monaghan needed someone to step up, Stephen O'Hanlon did step up, and he kicked a couple of brilliant points as well. Like, he's just a cracking footballer, and last night was a real showpiece performance from him. He was brilliant. Michal Bannigan was brilliant. Jack McCarron was brilliant. And for Monaghan as well, Kieran McNulty off the bench kicked the winner, kicked the third goal. Like, brilliant introduction for him to inter-county football. Darren McDonald as well was very solid in goal. With all the eyes on him, how is he going to do? You know, the comparisons with Rory Beggan feel inevitable. But Matthew, for Monaghan, a team that, you know, made an awful start to this game. Cormac Costello got the goal very quickly. They bounced back and they proved themselves yet again. And it's a fantastic start to the league for the Farney.
They're probably an inspiration. I've said this on our podcast multiple times. Monaghan are an inspiration to the rest of the country, considering the population that they have, the players that they've lost. Like Rory Beggan wasn't there the other night for obvious reasons. Conor McManus wasn't there. Obviously, the Hughes brothers, Kieran's definitely retired. Darren, I don't know what's the story with him. But they still produce new players year on year on year. Like, you think of Stephen O'Hanlon is a very good player, obviously. Explosiveness on Saturday night, he was absolutely incredible. Jack McCarron as well, and Michal Bannigan. And David Garland started in this game, and you look at him in the Sigurdsson Cup, and he is another level to go up on as well. Might not have played his best on Saturday night, but he's still a very, very able player. Gary Moe in the midfield, and he's a monster of a player. So Monaghan keep finding these players, and even a goal, I didn't think they'd find an able replacement for Rory Beggan. There you go with Darren McDonald. What an introduction for him to inter-county football. And yes, it's the old feelings really for Dublin, isn't it? Number one, that they lost Armagh 2 years ago, and I think you said on Gaelic Games Fan TV with the Dublin review, Séamus, that Dublin need to win this game against Monaghan just to start off right, no relegation fears, and they lost it, and it was just unexpected. Luke makes some very good points in fairness when you look at the players in there that been given so many chances, like Ross McGarry in particular is a very good example. Larkin O'Dell at centre forward has been given about 2-3 years now, maybe even 4. But he's done well at underage, but he hasn't stepped up to senior yet. And even according to Scorpio, the midfield was Brian Fenton, and he was joined by Luke Brannock, and he was full forward for the under-20s. So you can't expect a player from going full forward in the under-20s to go midfield for the senior team. And that's a worry for Dublin. And I think you mentioned this, Séamus. They need a midfield partner for Brian Fenton. Is it going to be Paddy Byrne? Is it going to be Killian McGuinness? Killian McGuinness, look at him at the Sigurdsson Cup for TU Dublin. He's been absolutely incredible. Why not give him a chance?
He was brilliant for Skerries as well. He was fantastic for Skerries in the club championship. Like a genuine leader for them against Kilmacud Crokes, against Thomas Davis. He was genuinely a leader for them. So I don't really understand why he hasn't been given, why he wasn't given a shot in the league, because he did play well in the O'Byrne Cup as well. But yeah, like, you're absolutely right. And it's one of those things that you can feel Dublin fans kind of turning and being a bit worried, like, we're not going to get relegated again, are we? So, like, I'll go back to you, Matthew. The next game against Mayo was massive.
Huge, and no doubt the Mayo fans will get behind their team in McKay Park, and that's going to be a bear pit for Dublin to get out of. I know they beat Mayo, I think in 2020, that was a game where, and another player that's come to my mind thinking about Dublin and Mayo coincidentally, Dan O'Brien from Kilmacud Crokes. Why isn't he getting a go?
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
He's a really, really good cornerback, really good wing back. Theo Clancy did get a run out against Monaghan, and he needs to get more game time to go into that full back role. Sean McMahon played there, or the Scorpio now the other night, and according to E2, he hasn't really stamped his authority on the Dublin team, so that's a worry. David O'Hanlon did kick a 45, so that's good that he has as much distribution as Clucks, and maybe the leadership skills have to improve there, but he's definitely an able replacement. But across the Dublin team, only David O'Hanlon for Cluxton. I don't see any other able to replace. Maybe Theo Clancy in the future years for Mick Fitzsimons. But midfield is a huge issue, I think. Around the wings, around cornerback is a huge issue as well. Why is it Dan O'Brien getting his flowers? Why is it Killian McGuinness getting in midfield? And that's what Dublin need to do in the next few weeks. But what's even more, or just as important as well, is to get results on the board. Because if they lose to Mayo next Saturday night, then the confidence starts to drain a bit. And then relegation could be over the horizon, because you looked at, we'll get on to Tyrone in a minute, but Tyrone's performance going down to 14 men would definitely worry Dublin going down the home straight as well.
Nah, no doubt about it. And like, you're absolutely right. Since Dennis Bastick retired, since Michael Darren McCauley went past his peak, we haven't had a nailed on midfield partner for Fenton since. We've gone with Darren Gavin for a year, then we got rid of him. Then we went Tom Lahiff for a little bit, but then he always randomly gets dropped out of the team as well. Pater O'Coffey-Burns had his chance, hasn't really taken it. Emmett O'Keneal the same, Craig Diaz the same. So we need to pick one, and hopefully they can deliver. Killian McGuinness would probably be my pick right now. Adam Waddick from Thomas Davis is someone I've always thought was an exceptional player as well. But there's options. There is options, and Desi needs to find our best option over the league, no question about it. And speaking of Mayo, we'll go to them next. They started off their league in extremely impressive fashion, beating Galway 2-12 to 10 points in Pearse Stadium. The goals coming from Owen McLaughlin in the first half. He hit Galway with the classic backdoor cut. And then the second goal came from Killian O'Connor, really as the icing on the cake. The last score came from Jack Carney. Galway have now only won one game in their last 7 against Mayo across all league and championship. Luke, for Mayo, it's a great start to the league.
Yeah, it's two ways of looking at it. Like, perfect for Mayo, worrying for Galway. So it's like, I would say that. Well, I think a lot of the Galway fans were saying hopefully that they just done a very heavy training session the day before, because they looked out of shape nearly. They just looked lethargic. They didn't look sharp whatsoever. And meanwhile, Mayo just Mayo looked up for the challenge. And they blooded a few new lads anyway. Mayo did as well, but then at the same time had that bit of experience too. So like, I think from a Mayo perspective, it's a pretty perfect start for it. You're talking about, they've Dublin coming up next. I don't think Dublin will be fancying that too much, having to go up to McHale Park to play them, because they just started well, and they had some of the big names as well, that they have more room to grow in there as well. Like, I don't think, like, Tommy Conroy and Aidan O'Shea didn't have their greatest games, but that's all right. Like, they were able to find a way other ways there too, though. So
Fergal Boland,
Fergal Boland
Amanda
coming
was
back in as
dropped
well.
out of the panel last year to come back in and to play like that. 3 points from play, not a bad return.
Yeah, well, look, and he was up there for man the match in there too, and like, you see, like, the likes of Owen McLaughlin as well. The fact that he's going to get a full crack at this year as well. He's had his injuries in and out and everything like that. A player with huge potential. Like, the goal was some finish too. So now, from a Mayo perspective, an awful lot to take from it as well. Like, it also, I think, like, pretty interestingly, a kind of brand new midfield partnership in there too. So like, they managed to get the result out of it. They've tried things out too, but like, from a Galway perspective as well, it's a bit of a disaster start. It couldn't have gone any worse for them, really. That, like, looked comfortably beaten, and absolutely nothing to take from the performance too. And look, too reliant on Shane Walsh, who was well marshalled as well yesterday. So it's a kind of tale of two sides, really, where Mayo going to be quite happy with their start, and just Galway with a lot of questions to answer now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. And like, Matthew, on top of that, like, on top of the flat performance, no Killian McDade in the league. Peter Cook apparently has not committed to Galway for the year. Like, from a position where they were in last year, it's crazy how quickly one defeat can suddenly make you question a lot. Like, what's going on with Galway? What are you expecting from them after this game?
And to add to the absentee list as well, James McLaughlin and Keane Hurley are going on Erasmus as well. So they'll be out for the league. And that's 2 midfield options that have been there for underage as well. We've talked about Galway in depth over the last 2 years or 3 years. Since really they got to the honour of the final against Kerry, and the reward was potential. This Galway team had potential for years on end. Like, the minor teams, the under-20 teams, like they beat Dublin in the under-20 final a few years ago, and we're thinking, this is a dynasty starting in Galway. Tom O'Cullen, for example, like, he's been minor over the last few seasons. Then he went to the under-20, and then he's been senior team for a bit in 2022. And now he's gone off the ball altogether. I'm not sure what's going on there.
He got called in 2021, and we just haven't seen him. I don't really understand what he has to do to get a run in the team. Maybe he's just not training well, but you'd think he would have got some league time.
That's the thing. And the thing is, like, with Tom O'Cullen, a few years ago, we would have said that it's too soon for him to get in the team. But it's not, no. Like, he's about 21, 22 now. This is the time to get into the team. And I agree with Luke completely. They're too reliant on Shane Walsh in regards to scores. Damien Comer to an extent as well. Killian O'Corrine had a nice score, to be fair to him yesterday, and he's a very good player. But Peter Cook is a huge loss. And they mentioned in the last night, Lee Keegan and Peter Canavan, that he's the beating heart of that Galway team. Kenny McDade is as well, and he was going forward, especially in that All-Ireland quarter-final a few years ago against Armagh. And again, I don't think they've sorted the goalkeeper issue either. Like Conor Flaherty, I think, is coming in for the first 2 stages of the league, but how long will that last? He came in a few years ago, didn't impress in Division 2. Then they went with Conor Gleeson, didn't really impress there. So there's a few positions where we mentioned at the start that Derry are all set in their starting 15. Galway, not sure, does Power Joyce know he's best starting 15? And that's the huge problem with Galway. And they needed to kickstart the league properly. I don't think they did in this game against Mayo. Take nothing away from Mayo. It was an exceptional performance. But what I will say about Mayo, and I've come to my senses after last year, after me and Aaron stupidly backed Mayo to win the All-Ireland after the league, look, it's only the league. You need to calm down a small bit, go into the Connacht Championship, produce your best form until then, and go from there. Because you looked at last year, Mayo started the league like a train. And if they win against Dublin next Saturday, the height levels will go up and up and up. So,
it will.
Yeah,
it will. They just need to calm down and kind of like, okay, get the good work done. If they beat Dublin, it's an undeniably impressive start to the league, but it only counts if you go and win the All-Ireland after that. And Dublin will certainly believe that as well. I do think Dublin are keeping one eye on the championship, but you need to put that other eye back firmly on the league, or you could be going straight back down to Division 2 again. Now, the final game that we're going to cover in Division 1 saw a massive win for Tyrone. There's no question about it. They beat Roscommon at Healy Park in Omagh by 17 points to a goal in 11, even though they went down to 14 men after Con Kilpatrick was sent off. Look, Roscommon looked to be in a good spot in the first half. Donny Smith's goal, beautiful catch and finish by Donny Smith off the left peg right into the bottom corner. Tyrone held their nerve, fought back. Dara Canavan with some great scores. Sean O'Donnell, Niall Devlin caught the eye as well. But yeah, for Tyrone, it's a good start.
Yeah, no, look, it's a huge win for them, and I think it's kind of everything that they could have wanted for in a game. And that, look, like you said, they blooded an awful lot of players. Like, if you look at the teams, it looks very, very different to what we've seen last year. And there was kind of a bit of a need for this, where that, like, you've seen the last couple of years, it's been a very much of a settled Tyrone side the last couple of years. And like, I think, was it Sean Kavanagh might have said that it was time to change up the team. They won their All-Ireland, and that it was time to move on to the next bunch. And it looks like they are going to do that. And even though some of those players aren't too old, like, it very much is the new era now. And I thought they did it well yesterday. Like, you look at they had experience at 3 and 6, and Hampsey and McKernan, both of them had 2 really, really good games. Like, I think 3 scores between them as well, getting forward too. And they got a great win there as well, despite the red card. Look, I think we'll probably, I don't know if you would agree, but I'm still kind of a bit surprised by how it was given as a red. But I'd imagine, I know that they are appealing it, and I imagine that will be overturned, and Kilpatrick will be available for next day too. Yeah. But despite that, look, they kind of they weathered it as well. They kept kicking the scores. Derek Canavan, I think, with 8 in the end. So, like, he really stepped up as well. If they can get him starting to become a leader as well, leading the lineup there too, that's a huge plus for them. And yeah, I think they were probably a little bit lucky with the decision for the Roscommon goal at the end. Like, from the slowdown, it's very, very tight, but it did look like he was outside the square when he passed it. But maybe that evens up the Kilpatrick call earlier on today though as well. So I think Tyrone were value for the win in the end. And it's like the goal at the end, if we finished up a draw, would have been harsh on them, but that's a perfect start for them, I think.
Yeah, no, it is a perfect start. I do agree, Matthew, that like both sides got one big bad call against them. I don't think the Kilpatrick incident was a red card, and certainly, in my opinion, Roscommon's second goal should have stood. But like, over the course of the game, I do think Tyrone probably shaded it.
They did, and it probably epitomised the Tyrone actually pushed on since the sending off, that they were full value for the victory. As Luke mentioned there, Derek Hannafin was superb with 8 points on the board. Niall Devlin was very good as well. Kieran Daly is a player I've been watching in the Secret Side Cup and underage for Tyrone over the last few seasons, that he did absolutely brilliant for Trillick as well in the club championship. So they all had very good performances. As Vierna said, it's about backing up now, these performances. Okay, you did it against Roscommon at home. Do it in the next game now. Do it in the next game after that, against the likes of the Kerrys, the Dublins, the Mayos in the next few weeks. And then I might take Tyrone a bit more seriously than last season, because they ended last year on a sour note, let's be honest, against Kerry. It was probably one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a Tyrone team. So it's all about bouncing back from that. On the decisions itself, look, it was one bad call each, but I think it increased the cause for VAR in the GA. I'm not sure if you've seen the discussions on this, but yeah, it's a big debate. It really is. With the Colin Kilpatrick stuff, I think the rule is very, very unclear. Like, is that a red card? I'll go back to the instance last year. Coincidentally, a game involving Tyrone. I think it was Frank Burns actually against Galway got a red card for something similar enough. Darragh Moynihan then for wrapping a hand around Kevin O'Donovan's neck against Cork. This doesn't get a red card. So what is a red card and what's not? We need to kind of get that clarity, and that's the big thing with that. And yes, Roscommon deserved a goal yesterday, but the VAR debate, look, it'll be something new. It'll really be something new. It'll put the cat amongst the pigeons. Does the GA need it, considering the help the referee needs? I think it genuinely does. I know Peter Canavan has had these disagreements with it on League Sunday last night, but I'd be for VAR personally. I just think it would help the referees a lot. It would get decisions correct on the day for big moments like those 2 decisions yesterday. And yeah, ultimately, I think it would be a good thing for the GA.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you make it quick. I think you just go 30 seconds. That's how long you have to look at it. Or somebody says in the year, go back and change that decision. Because the perfect example is Galway Derry in the All-Ireland semi-final of 2022. Shane Walsh takes the free. Ball goes between the posts. Hawkeye says it's wide. Referee then gets shown the replay at halftime. They come back out, show the replay on the big screen. Umpire waves the white flag. Did anybody have any complaints about that? No. So if you were to implement that again in future in obvious situations like Loudon Mead in 2010, where an immediate replay can show you the ball being thrown into the back of the net, there you go. That's where VAR can help. I think if they get it right, it can really help. If they get it wrong, it will be annoying for everybody. So it's a question of, will they get it right? But Division 1 in the books, round 1. We're going to move on now to Division 2. And again, Division 2 is always I think Division 2 is always really interesting. What's interesting is all the previews, Division 2 seems to get the most attention. And that's because there's the most at stake really with Division 2. You've got promotion up to Division 1. You've got relegation potentially to Tailteann Cup and Division 3 and not playing in the All-Ireland series. Division 2 has a lot to say in a lot of different things. And we're going to pair the games together. So we have 2 teams that are fully expecting to go up that also won, that we're going to start with them. And 2 teams that got off to rather flat starts at home, and we'll pair them together as well. So the first 2 that I'll come to you is for, you know who they are, Donegal and Cork. Donegal beat Cork 120-2-6 in Ballybofey on Jim McGuinness's big return, and Armagh beat Louth 12-11 at the Athletic Grounds. Matthew, I'll come to you first, being that you're a Cork man. Donegal, first day with Jim McGuinness in the second coming. What did you make of Donegal?
Look, fast forward, backtrack to last year, actually, the first game of the league, we lost to Meath, and I was pretty angry on Gaelic Games Fan TV. I think a lot of people will remember that. This time, I'm a bit more measured, considering the team we played. I think Donegal were absolutely superb yesterday. I think they genuinely have a case to go on an All-Ireland run in the next few years. I know it's a bit premature, a lot of people are saying, but I think with Ryan McHugh back, Patter Morgan, Paddy McBrearty got 100% shot accuracy yesterday, or Doherty is a brilliant young player coming through. And Donegal definitely deserved their flowers yesterday. They were absolutely superb. And system as well, Jim McGuinness, you could see it implemented on the team. They were surrounding Cork, they were not giving them any space, and I thought they were absolutely brilliant in terms of that. Look, for Cork, this game probably wasn't the aim for John Clear. I think the aim is the next 4 games, especially against Louth next week, against Cavan, against Fermanagh, against Kildare. There are 4 games that Cork need to win. I think if we lose to Loud next week, there is panic station, but not just yet. I think Chris O'Jones had a good performance in fairness to him yesterday. I think it was a bit of a strange call taking David Buckley off the freeze. He performed well at the McGrath Cup final freeze last week. He then put Brian Hurley on him and he misses 2 in quick succession. And you're like, why change it if it ain't broke? But look, we have to park that now. We have to go on to next week against Loud. And yeah, it's going to be a difficult game up in Darty. And yeah, speaking of Loud, they were close, weren't they, against Armagh? Really, really close. It was a close game, close shave. And to be honest, Loud deserved it in many aspects. And if Samuel Roy knocks over that free, we could be talking about a draw here. So yeah, I think Armagh were very, very poor, other than Conor Turbot, potentially Rory Grugan as well, and Stephen Soupy Campbell were absolutely brilliant. But the rest of the team, they need to up their level if they are to go on a promotion charge in many ways. But for Loud against Cork now next week takes a huge meaning. And I'm going to that game as well in RD. So, yeah, it's going to be a huge game for Cork, huge game for Loud. And the loser might be staring down the barrel of the Tailteann Cup. So, yeah, interesting opening weekend.
Yeah, no, it's massive. And we have a comment in here about Cork. Hurling 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure I agree with this, but Cork don't have enough natural footballers. James Dunning was right, as they constantly try run the ball instead of kicking it. I think it goes back to what Diarmuid Connolly said. It's what you're coached to do. Cork have beautiful footballers, like fantastic footballers, like players like Stephen Sherlock, players like Brian Hurley that are cracking footballers. Like, if they're being told to play a system with a lot of hand pass and that's what they're going to do, there's no surprise that Donegal went from being ultra defensive in 2011, where all they did was hand pass it to, you know, players like Michael Murphy, Carl Lacey hitting top form the next year. But yeah, I don't think you'd agree with that either, Matthew.
No, and I'll pose a question to him back. How come Cork won an under 20 All Ireland in 2019 if we have such crap technical gifted footballers? You know, it's
that's the way to put it.
That's the thing. We beat Dublin in that. And remember, in 2019, that under 20 team beat Kerry, Tyrone, and Dublin on the way. That's no easy run. And that's obviously, Kerry have great tradition. Tyrone had Darragh Canavan in the team, probably one of the best footballers coming out of the Red Hand County. So, no, I definitely disagree with that comment, to put it mildly. And yeah, I think there is some very good footballers in Cork, but it's about, you know, integrating. And we got to the All-Ireland quarter-final, beating Mayo and Roscommon last year as well. So I don't get
I think it's a bit of the Kerry Cork rivalry potentially from James O'Donoghue's point of view, saying that. But I think Cork have cracking footballers as well. Luke, your take on that? Obviously, Jim McGuinness back in as Donegal boss, and the one thing that I noticed when it comes to Donegal's performance is their confidence. Like, scores from Oran Doherty, Ryan McHugh, Kieran Thompson all kicked gorgeous points. They were pushed right up on Cork, like really, really pushed up high in them, not letting Cork breathe with the ball. And they just had a swagger about them again. You could tell Jim McGuinness is back. Like, that kind of energy was around the team, that they really believed that they were going to win that game. And yeah, there was no way that they weren't. Armagh, on the other hand, like, there's that thing, like, Armagh never make it easy for themselves. And you knew that game at home, that they would make it difficult for themselves. They sure did. Louth at one stage led 4 points to 0 after 20 minutes. They led 8-4 in the second half after Conor Grimes' point. And Armagh made themselves have to fight back and really scrape the victory. Now they did. And they're both on the same amount of points. But I think it's fair to say Donegal have made the more impressive start.
Yeah, no, for sure. And just like, firstly, I think that comment was probably a bit of bait. But yeah, no, I think Cork will be all right in the end, and that, like, yeah, I think what we're gonna see. I think Donegal are primed kind of for the league. They're ready to go. We see what their preseason is as well. They're the hottest team coming into. Like, I know it's very early in the year, but like themselves and Derry are probably the two form sides shown from preseason, and the ones that they're putting out good teams as well. But like, I think it's an interesting point in that, like, if they all buy into it and you look at the players there as well, there is an All-Ireland contending team in there. And that, like, you look at that side they put out the other day, there's still plenty of faces to come back in there as well. Like, there was no Michael Langan, Oisín Gallen didn't really play as well. He's going to kick on this year for sure. And then, like, even Oban Gallagher, he's coming off the bench as well. So there's plenty of players that, like, haven't that weren't involved there the other day as well. They're still going to come back in too. So when you put it that way and you look at the players in there too, there is some really top players in there as well. They're going to buy into McGuinness anyway as well. He'll have them coached as good as anyone can imagine. And yeah, look, it's a huge statement anyway, week one. Like, then again, is there any point in making such big statements early on in the season as well? Look, being an Ulster side, they're going to have to go about the hard way in Championship too. So yeah, look, they can win all the games at the moment, but look, they will be judged later on as the year goes on. But it does look promising to begin. And then just to touch on as well, look, it's a good start by Jared Brennan as well. Like, he'd be good that he didn't get a result out of it as well. But like, there was a lot of pressure on him coming in, taking over from Mickey Hart, and a lot of people saying that Mickey Hart is the reason why that team kind of did so well in the last couple of years and why they were where they were. And it was always going to be a tough job for Jared Brennan coming in as well. But like, they showed they were right in that game. They easily could have got at least a point out of it against probably the second favourite for the division. So yeah, no, look, I think it's performance-wise, it's a good start for Louth. Not a great start by Armagh, kind of performance-wise, but then at the same time, look, it'd be interesting to see how Jared Brennan gets on anyway as well. And look, hopefully for his sake, like, I know he spoke to us before in the podcast before, like, hopefully for his sake that they get a few results and manage to stay up.
Yeah, no, that's no doubt about that. Look, he would be gutted because it would have been a hell of a start if he had gone away to the Athletic Grounds and beaten Armagh. It would have made everybody sit up and take notice. But they still noticed how good that performance was. Can't say the same about these two. Kildare losing to Cavan in Netwatch Cullen Park 16 points to 12, and Meath drawing with Fermanagh 12 points to 1-9, and they needed a late flurry of 3 points. They were 3 points down with 10 minutes to go at Port Talton. They drew it back to get the draw. But for two counties that a lot of whom is expected of, Matthew, will come to you for this first, neither side hit the ground running in week one.
I think in particular, Kildare, that was just an absolutely terrible result for them. And notice Cavan did absolutely brilliant. Paddy Lynch was absolutely superb in this game, hitting 8 points. And Ray McGallaghan, what a start for him. But for Kildare, they chatted all last year in the Leinster semi-final against Dublin. This was the opportunity to back this up. They didn't do it. Didn't do it at all. And a lot of Kildare fans, I obviously didn't watch the game, it wasn't on League Sunday, but I only heard the really old official Kildare GA. If you follow him on Instagram, if you don't follow him, do so. He's a very good Instagram account. But he said the performance was absolutely tragic. It was a disgrace to Kildare football. And by the looks of the scoreline, it looked that way. It was just terrible, really, from first minute to last, and it was just a really, really poor result for Kildare. I know they were in Netwatch Cullen Park, but this was an opportunity to stamp their claim on Division 2 and maybe go on a promotion charge. Now they have it all to do in the next few weeks, and they only have themselves to blame. It is really, really poor result for Kildare, and considering their under-20s won the All-Ireland last year, this is not the result they needed at first day out in the league. As for Meath, look, other than a couple of players, Owen Frayne scoring 5 points, Dahi McGowan did brilliant in midfield, scored 3 points. Meath were very, very flat. Even at halftime, it was 1-5 to 5 points. And I tipped Meath as my dark horse. And then when Sean Cassidy scored that goal for Fermanagh, I was like, oh no, seriously, Meath are going to, bottle this. But in fairness to Meath, and unlike Kildare, they definitely had to fight about them. They were in a hole, but they dug themselves out of it. And maybe that could be a confidence booster for Meath in the next few weeks. But to put a long story short, I'd actually be more positive, but mildly, be more positive about Meath than I would be about Kildare. Kildare was a terrible result. Meath, at least they recovered from a bad showing to get the draw in the end.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, Luke. I wonder if you'd agree with that as well. Like, I mean, because Kildare, for example, Kildare showed no real fight or at no real stage did I think Kildare were going to win that game. Meath, yes, they were in a hole that they kind of let themselves slip into, but Fermanagh came with a game plan. Ultan Kelm was brilliant. Sean Cassidy was brilliant. And Meath did have a shot to win it at the end for Matthew Costello. And if they had won it, like you would have been saying, at least fair play to them for pulling it back and getting the win. So it's not an ideal start for either county, but I think Meath do have a little bit more to be positive about than Kildare.
Yeah, I think so. And look, you look at Fermanagh, largely full strength, and that Fermanagh side's probably going to be the side that's, like, it won't be a huge amount of change for Championship. A few lads will come back in, but at the same time, I think there was more optimism about about Kildare as a county though, like Dan Mead anyway as well. You look at the talent coming through. Kildare should be doing better than what they're doing, to be honest. Like, and like, you know, like the last couple of years with Glen Ryan and stuff as well. Like, you have to wonder where it's going really. Kind of that, like, yeah, like you especially with the underage success in recent years, they've had some really top underage sides in recent years, and some of those players they've come in, but they just haven't really made the steps at Intercounty at all. And like none of like this game was like didn't see this game, but like by all accounts, when like from everybody that you've heard involved in Kildare kind of circles like that, like yeah, like the word shambolic was being used nearly for the performance here, and that it was particularly like a lot of people saying defensive structure was just non-existent as well, very very loose. Like Matthew already mentioned about like Paddy Lynch hit 8, like, and yeah, just it just seemed to be very very bleak from Kildare fans with their summation of the game. So yeah, look, you talk about Cavan coming up. Like Cavan are going to do all right, and like I think Cavan will be probably as it goes on will try and push for that second spot. That like I do think Donegal are going to take this league very very seriously and try to go straight back up. But I think Cavan and Armagh might have a good battle anyway, going up there and try and join them going up into Division 1.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. And look, it's a very interesting start for Division 2. Like, there's no question about it. Couple of shock results and a couple of very disappointing starts and a couple of brilliant starts, which brings us on to Division 3. And what we'll do with Division 3 and Division 4 is I'll run through all 4 of the results, and then I'll ask you both for your opinion on how the division has kicked off in week 1. So Clare beat Sligo 9 points to 1-5 in a battle of a game. Clare, of course, hit so hard in the off-season. They get a victory on the opening day. Fair play to them. Offaly lost to Westmeath at home, won 11 to 10 points. Down went away to Ockram and beat Wicklow 18 points to 13. And Antrim made a statement victory, beating Leitrim 2-14 to 2-7 in Rathkeale. Dominic McInhill very much leading the way there with a goal and 6. Matthew, I'll come to you first. What did you make of these results?
Absolutely delighted with Division 3 because I actually got all these right predictions. So you know, that was good to see.
Bad.
But especially Antrim beating Limerick. I think this is I know I predicted it beforehand, but this is a huge result for Antrim and huge result in trying to stay up in the division. Dominic McInhill definitely took his forward from the Talented Cup into this game. And Antrim, they don't necessarily have the best team in Division 3. They probably have one of the worst squads, let's be honest, player for player. But what they do have is a brilliant manager in Andy McAtee, and they have a lot of fight. And this is why Antrim will stay up. And it was disappointing for Limerick in the end. Ian Corbett and Tommy Childs were the main men there, but they can't keep relying on those players to keep them in Division 3. And well done to Antrim to go on and win the game. Clare, to be honest, look, with the 11 players missing, they needed that bit of luck, didn't they? 2 men sent off for Sligo, I think it was. They went down to 13 men at one stage. And Clare drove on Emmett McMahon scoring 5 points in this game. Ikem Oguaru did very well in the backs as well. So Clare, good start for them. For Down, good win in Ockram against Wicklow. And Daniel Guinness is a player to watch there, scored 4 points from wing back. Very good performance from him. And we're going for Westmeath and the Midlands Derby against Offaly. Offaly were probably, from what I heard from Jason Keane from the Low for Bread podcast, I heard that Offaly were the better team in the second half. But Westmeath did damage in the first half. Senna Baker scoring that brilliant goal, scoring 1-2 overall. Brilliant performance for Westmeath, and a good start for all 4 teams that had won this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Luke, what do you make of that interesting start to Division 3?
Yeah, no, look, I think Matthew sums up pretty well. Like, by all accounts, that Sligo Clare game was an absolute bloodbath, and like there was an awful lot of black cards in there as well. I think Clare had 2 black cards. I know the Luke Towie red card in around the 45th minute was probably a huge factor in it, and then there was the double yellow in around the 60-minute mark. Like, obviously, when you go down to that, like, it's never going to help you. I know, even though Clare did finish up with the black card, I think, towards the end of the game as well for Aaron Griffin. But yeah, no, it's a good start. It's a good start from Clare, and like I think, look, Sligo are a team with a bit of momentum, like, as in they've got young players coming through, a few of the 20s coming into the side already. So it's yeah, no, it's a good start for Clare. I think I think you summed up the other games well, but just to touch on the Offaly Westmeath game, thought this was interesting, and yeah, I just think from Offaly, it's a bit disappointing from Offaly in that, like, that's the Westmeath side. I think that are going to be they're going to be quite well when they come to World Championship. I think they have a great chance of winning Division 3 here. I think that there are plenty of players to come back in as well. But just from an Offaly perspective, like it's starting to feel like we've already talked about why some of the younger players didn't get through. I don't think they're going to get the huge return from that under 20 All-Ireland winning side. And like they've a few fellas starting, but like you see again, it's another opportunity for the likes of Cormac Egan, Donoghue at Wingford, and they're all taking off very, very early. And every time they seem to play for Offaly and they're given the run, they just don't kind of seem to make it past the 50-minute mark as well. And like those players like Jack Bryant, Morgan Tyne, and all these, they just look like they're not going to fully kick on at inter-county level. So it'll be interesting from Offaly as they go along. Do they still keep trying to get those 20s through? But that's just a bit of a worry, I think, for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like they have to get them through. Like that's the future of Offaly football right there. I mean, what indication do you want other than an All-Ireland win as to how good that these guys can be? But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And for me, like I predicted Westmeath and Down to go up. They won their first 2 games. So, I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that. And tricky away assignments. I mean, particularly Westmeath going away to Offaly. It was going to be a tricky one, but they came out of there with the win. Senna Baker getting the goal. They struck at crucial times. I think that's a good way to sum it up. Now we'll move down to Division 4. So, Luke, I'll come to you for your opinion on these 4 games first. We had Laois beating Longford 112 to 2-7 in O'Moore Park. A side note on that, the goalkeeper Killian Roach scored 5 points. 3 of them were from play. Absolutely extraordinary. Tipperary lost to Carlow 114 to 310 in Semple Stadium. Leitrim absolutely battered Waterford 217 to 1-7 in Fraher Field. And Wexford won a tricky away assignment in Ruislip against London 113 to 1-9. So what do you make to that start of Division 4?
Yeah. Look, it's an interesting one. I think the Laois Longford game was always going to be the big one in here as well, and that, yeah, probably two of the sides, probably the 2 sides that are probably going to be favoured as well. Laois were always going to be a bit of a tough one to know where they're going to be after the previous seasons where they've had a couple of absolute torrid years. So like what a start that is for them as well. Like I think. Like you talk about other teams that like it's very early in the league that you don't need to read too much of it. But like I think Laois need a good league, and that they just need to go back up. They need to just get out of Division 4. They shouldn't, a county like them shouldn't be in Division 4, and they just need to get a few wins to get out of there as well. Like of the other notable results over the weekend as well, I think a lot of people were fearing for Waterford going in with what's happening. It's kind of I suppose in the off season as well, and that like they've not had a good start to 2024, and look, that was reflected in there as well. That a really tough start. I know for Leitrim, Rooney a full forward kicking 10 points as well was the key man for them, but they were absolutely cruised to it too. And then just to touch on one other game there, I suppose as well, that tough start for Tipperary too, and that like they're really starting to feel the impact of losing all those players. Like I thought it was interesting to see Paddy Creedon starting. He's a fellow that probably could have made it in hurling. To see him starting, he did score a goal on the point, but it really does look like Tip are trying to draft in players from anywhere really here, and they're trying to fill gaps of players leaving the whole time. But like Carlo having too much for them is a bit of an early warning sign, because I don't think Tipperary football is in a good place right now.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Like I think that Tipperary, it still sticks in your head of them being that team that made it to the All-Ireland semi-finals, but they're just not. Like they've nobody from those teams still in the current squad, and it's a bad old start for them. Like Matthew, what do you make of that result and then the other 3?
Yeah, and Tipperary, look, I thought they were always going to struggle, to be honest with you. I know Sean O'Connor got 9 points in this game, and he's an excellent player for UCC in the Searson Cup and Clonmel Commercials of the club championship. And Paddy Creedon as well, and I agree completely with Luke. I thought he'd make it in hurling completely. Like he was third of stars, he was a star man in many ways in the senior hurling championship. But no, it doesn't seem to be working whatsoever. Like Evan Comerford seemed to come back, then he was dropped for this game. I don't know what's going on with Tipperary. It's a very, very poor state of affairs. Fair play to Carlo, brilliant result for him. John Morris, he was brilliant in midfield. And obviously, if Colin Poulsen and Connor forward, very good performance from them. Leash, very good win over Longford. A huge credit to Killian Roach. How often do you see that? 5 points from a goalkeeper, 3 from play. It's absolutely remarkable in many ways. And probably a lot of people were talking about the fly goalkeeper, talking about Orr Lynch's mistakes and Patrick Dodd's mistakes and many others up and down the division. But Killian Roach put that criticism in the bin over the weekend. Brilliant performance from him. And it probably it epitomizes how the goalkeeper role has evolutionized in many years. Leitrim from beating Waterford, look, it was always going to happen. But credit to Darragh Rooney actually for Leitrim in the full forward line, scoring 10 points. Brilliant showing from him. But Waterford, look, it's going to be another season with 0 points, isn't it? And Wexford, brilliant results to go to London to get a win by 4 points. It looks for some stages London would go on to win the game. But to be fair to Wexford, they stuck in there. They got the win in the end. And that could set them up very nicely for a potential promotion charge.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So that is all 4 of the Allianz Football League divisions wrapped up on their opening weekend. It's been a fascinating discussion. We're going to move on to the LGFA Leagues now. Luke, I believe you have to be out by 8:30. So it's 8:29. So that's not bad time. You have a minute to have a cup of tea before you go. Myself and Matthew will carry on. Thanks, Luke, for joining us up until this point.
Right, touch it.
Okay, so it's going to be myself and Matthew that will carry on with the LGFA division. So we're going to go in a bit deep on Division 1 and then we'll carry on with the other 3 divisions as well. So starting off, I mean, this result is the main one for me that I would look at straight away as being the eye-catching one. The All-Ireland champions Dublin now have lost back-to-back games in Division 1. Lost to Kerry in what was a fairly flat performance at Parnell Park, and then losing to Meath and Port Talton. Like, it's not a great start for Dublin. Obviously, the goals came from Maeve Byrne, who got the first one. She actually said that Niamh O'Sullivan was the person who told her to get that goal. Obviously, Niamh O'Sullivan retired. Massive shout out to her. I mean, what a career she's had for Meath. And the other goal came from Marion Farrelly. Those goals proved to be the difference, and they both came in the first half. Dublin left themselves a mountain to climb that they couldn't climb and slipped to back-to-back defeats.
It probably epitomises too, Séamus, that Meath are back. They had a bit of an off year last year. Vicky Walls left for Rugby Sevens. You have Niamh O'Sullivan retired. Big shout to her, obviously, brilliant career she's had. And shame to see her go. Orla Duff at cornerback was lost over the last 2 years as well to retirement. So they had a lot of players stepping away. And to get a win, and to get a good start to the the Lidl National League campaign, to get 2 wins on the board, it's absolutely brilliant for me football in general. And Marion Farrelly looks a brilliant player. Maeve Byrne, I know she only scored a goal in this game, but she's actually scored 3 goals in 2 games now. So maybe she's a bit of a goal getter in this Meath team. Yeah. So I think they found a new star in general Meath, but good start for them. For Dublin, look, it's almost like the men's in a Séamus. They need to start winning soon. I know they've lost those 2 games. They're blooding in a lot of players like Annabelle Timothy and Ellen Gribben and all them players, but they need to start bringing the likes of Carla Rowe, Hannah Tyrrell, all them, and start winning games, because if you lose more games than you're doing right now, you're going to go into a slump, and Dublin don't want to do that. I know there's only one team that goes down in the LGFA League, but still, Dublin still want to steady the ship a small bit before it gets worse.
That's it. And like, the reality is, if you keep letting defeats come in, it does creep into your mentality. And before you know it, you are struggling to win a game. Carla Rowe was in this game. She hit 4 points. Meath had a 6-point lead at halftime, and that held them on to the end. Like, I thought against Kerry, Dublin were doing a lot of the same things that we were doing against Kerry. Caoimhe O'Connor, players like that were dashing into the space. But this time there was no Hannah Tyrrell coming off the shoulder to kick it over with her left. There was no Carla Rowe coming off the shoulder to kick it with her right. And we looked toothless against Kerry. We looked better in this game in terms of our forward potential, but it still won't be to a level that Mick Bohan will be happy with. And back-to-back defeats is not the start that he would have wanted. Dublin are not the only team to have back-to-back defeats to open their campaign. Galway are now too. They lost to Mayo 2-5 to 10 points. In Ballinasloe, and like, both goals came from Lisa Cafferkey, 1 in either half. They proved to be the difference. Galway fought back. Like, Mayo were 4 points to the good with 10 minutes left, but Liam McHale's side had to endure a late Galway rally, 3 points on the spin, and sure enough, Mayo managed to hold on. Like, the frees that came, sorry, I have it here, the frees came from Roisin Leonard, 2 of them. Alva Davern got a point as well, Kilmacud Crokes player. Galway pulled it back to 1 point, but it wasn't enough.
They could have easily drawn the game with Roisin Leonard's last minute free as well. And it was just agonisingly wide in the end. But that's the thing with Galway, and I'd worry about them really. I know there's a lot of good players coming from the Kilcurran Clonburn team. There's a good underage structure in Galway there. Like Eva O'Rourke's a good young player herself, and she's definitely stake her claim on the Galway team. So is Ailva Davern at centre forward. But once a few leaders leave, like Tracy Leonard is a huge one, Maria Choig is a huge one as well, it starts to plummet a small bit. They lost to Cork last week, now losing to Meath, or Mayo, excuse me. It's just a bad start of the league, isn't it? And they only scored 4 points from playing this game, which isn't really good enough. And they got a 40% shot accuracy as well. Equally not good enough for Galway. For Mayo, Lisa Cafferty, she is a goal getter in this Mayo team, isn't she? She gets 2 goals in this. And they ultimately swing the game in Mayo's favour, like Maria Cannon's top scorer in Division 1 with 114 as well. And she's having a very good campaign. Fanula McLaughlin also scored, and so does Sinead Walsh. So Mayo are going along nicely. Like they performed, like Liam McHale actually mentioned in the interview with DJ Carver, that they performed well against Meath last week. They lost that game. They didn't perform too well on Saturday, but they still went out to win. And I think Liam McHale will be happy with Mayo's progression over the last few weeks. And they're starting off the campaign with a 1 win and 2.
Yeah, no, and look, it's a good response. Like they did play well against Meath. If anything, Meath were just better than them on the day. It was in the Connacht GA Air Dome, so it was a huge scoreline. It was Meath 218, Mayo 115. Like it really stood out on the sheet alongside the games that have been played in difficult conditions, because all of these games have been played in difficult conditions pretty much. Hence why they're lower scores than usual. And then obviously the other element of the fact that they are 10 minutes less in terms of playing time. I think if they were played to 70 minutes, you could add on another 3 points per team. Now, we witnessed in the game at Fitzgerald Stadium between Kerry and Waterford, once again, just how good footballer of the year Louise Ní-Bhur is. Waterford made the dream start. They were 2 goals and a point to no score ahead after 10 minutes. The goals came from Mairead O'Brien and Kellyanne Hogan. Jaden Lucy absolutely roared into the game, got a goal for Kerry. By halftime, Kerry were level, but it was the introduction of Louise on the 47th minute that absolutely changed the game. She finished the game with a goal and 4, and her goal in the 64th minute was the icing on the cake for Kerry as they make it back-to-back wins. But again, just in case you needed reminding of how good she is.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant player. And, she had a long break. She didn't play the first league game against Dublin, but as soon as she's back in, there you go. What a performance. And she's a brilliant footballer, I have to say. And I think more than anything, I think she deserves an All-Ireland, Louise. Yeah. I think she's just an incredible footballer. She was top scorer in all charts last season for play, from overall in the league. I think she was just outstanding last year. Definitely deserved Ladies Footballer of the Year, and she's carried that form into this year.
To say that if she retires without it, she'd be the greatest female footballer to never win an All-Ireland.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. And I don't think there's any question in regards to that. And in regards to other players who carry, I think Emma Dean's been brilliant in the first 2 games. She didn't really have a standout game as she did against Dublin last week, but she definitely produced a brilliant performance in this game too. Niamh Carberty is another experienced player that has come into the last 2 games or so and has done well. So Kerry, I think they're going along nicely. Jane Lucy's another good player. Erica McGlynn as well. I think Kerry are going on really nicely going into the All-Ireland series now. I think the main aim for them is to get that Brendan Martin Cup. If they don't get it this year, maybe it'll be a case of now or never. But for Waterford, look, Waterford have done well to stay up at Division 1 for as long as they have. Can they do it again? Like Kellyanne Hogan's a good player, Lauren McGregor, obviously. They didn't have their best second half performance in the world, but look, they'd still be a hard team to beat in many ways. They were hard beat for Armagh last week, and I imagine any other side would find it very hard to beat them in the next few weeks too.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And look, the reality is Kerry are motoring nicely. Kaylee Cronin being moved out to centre half back against Dublin, she looked domineering there at centre half back. She was absolutely fantastic. They look really, really strong. Niamh Carmody against Dublin was fantastic, a real captain's performance, and they won that game without Louise. So it's a pretty good start for Kerry, and that full forward line: Emma Deneen, Lucy Brosnan, and Jaden Lucy. That was all their first games for Kerry. It was all the debuts. So they're bringing in new players that are making a mark, which is always a good sign for a team. And when we spoke about Louise coming back and immediately making her impact felt, Amy Mackin has done the same for Armagh. She's come back in. Armagh have won back-to-back games on the road. The first one against Waterford and the second one now against Cork in Páirc Uí Rinn. Amy Mackin has scored goals in both of these games. This goal came from penalty, actually rifled this penalty home. You've seen it on the AFLW Ireland Instagram page. Big shout out to Mike Curran and everyone there. But Amy Mackin banged this penalty home. And then on top of that, you got the goal against Waterford as well. She comes back. Armagh get better.
Yeah, incredible performance. And out of Armagh's first 1-3, Amy Mackin got all of it. And she's just an exceptional player in many ways. 2-5 in the first 2 games combined. And she's just a brilliant player. Like it's almost like when Amy Mackin's on it, every Armagh player performs well around her, and it's just incredible to watch. Aoife McCoy definitely raises her game as well. Emily Drucy had a good performance as well yesterday. And from what I was hearing anyway, Sarah Murphy from Cork, if it wasn't for her brilliant stops and goal, Armagh could have been further ahead, and it was a brilliant performance. Even to go down to Cork, to Páirc Uí Rinn, to go on and win this game, it's brilliant for Armagh. For Cork, disappointing, really disappointing. And last week they had only one score in Katie Quirk. It improved this week. So O'Leary got the score sheet, so did Darragh Kiley. But ultimately it was a loss for Cork. And it's going to be difficult to see. They take Kerry now next weekend on the bank holiday Monday. Live with TG Carr. But by the way, should be an interesting game. Hopefully Cork, from my point of view, go on and win that game. But with Kerry peaking at the right time, with Louise coming back and with Niamh Carberty and all them as well, it's going to be always a difficult game against Kerry. It really is. So it's going to be difficult for Cork, and with all the retirements as well. Gerard O'Sullivan's not playing for the league. Ciara O'Sullivan's not there either. Roisin Phelan, Maeve O'Sullivan. I think Laura Fitzgerald has gone as well. Like, there's a lot of players that have left the Cork panel, and it's up to the younger generation to produce them. The good Katie Quirk, one of them in the fair, she is 110 in 2 games, which is very good from her. But more players need to step up for Cork, and the next step now is Kerry next weekend. It's going to be a difficult game for them.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And there's no doubt about Katie Quirk's impact. I mean, she scored everything against Galway. It was Katie Quirk won 5 Galway 6 points. Like, absolutely incredible performance by her. But yeah, great start for Armagh. And the impact of Amy Mackin just comes back and you feel it immediately. We're going to run through the LGFA Division 2 results now. This one was the showpiece for me. Kildare beating Donegal 1-8-1-4 in Letterkenny. Tyrone beat Tipperary 1-7 to 9 points in Healy Park. Monaghan had a great win. Westmeath had a great win over Monaghan in Castleblaney 4-10 to 2-13. Very high scoring game there. And Cavan had a good win over Laois and Knockbride 9 points to 6. There's no doubt for me though the showpiece result of this division is Donegal beating Kildare. Kildare, All-Ireland Intermediate Championship champions. They're gearing up for another crack at the senior level. They've class players there like Ellen Dowling, like Roisin Byrne. But Donegal was a real litmus test to see how they'll get on in the senior championship, because Donegal have been around the block for years. They have players like Katie Heron, Niamh McLaughlin, Tara Hegarty, who all started this game. And Kildare go up to Ballybofey and leave with a 4-point win.
And the thing is, Donegal will be usually classified as a Division 1 team. So for Kildare to go up and win that game speaks volumes for Diana O'Hara's side. It's a brilliant result. It really is. Roisin Byrne, I think she's been absolutely superb in the first 2 games. 2-9 now that I counted in the first 2 games. It's absolutely incredible, and brilliant performance from her. And then when you look at the other results, Tyrone have now won 2 on the bounce as well. And Maria Canavan's doing well at the moment with 2-5 in 2 games. So Tyrone look to be going nicely in this Division 2 campaign. Westmeath, brilliant results over Monaghan. Chloe McBride had a good performance for Monaghan, I'm hearing, in this game. But Westmeath, and this was like, I think Sarah Dillon only scored 1 point in this game. So that's 4-9 if you don't count Sarah Dillon. That's a huge boost for Westmeath, because when you looked at Westmeath in previous seasons, Division 2 and Division 1, it's been all about Sarah Dillon. But to score 4-9, not by Sarah Dillon, that's absolutely incredible in this sense for Westmeath. And Cavan, good results against Laois, really good results in winning by 9 points to 6, considering they only scored 2 points against Tip last week. So brilliant result for Cavan. But I think, looking at the first 2 games, I think Kildare are seriously a team to watch in this division.
Yeah, I do think Kildare will go up. I think that's an absolute guarantee, especially after the opening 2 results that they've had. A great victory over Monaghan, and then a great, even more impressive victory over Donegal. Now, moving on to Division 3, we had Clare beating Sligo 4-11 to 2-6. We had Wexford beating Down, the junior champions. So that's quite a surprise, especially in Port Esler. Wexford won by 5 to 5 points. Offaly and Antrim had a bit of a colourful game. Offaly 5-4, Antrim 2-8. So a victory for Offaly there. 7 goals scored, not bad entertainment. And Roscommon had a great win over Louth, 114 to 6 points. What did you make of these games?
Yeah, brilliant results, first of all, for Clare. Their intermediate finals last year, they probably shouldn't be down in Division 3. And Fidel McMarlin has been brilliant, as always. I think it's 3-7-2 games for her, which is absolutely incredible in its own right. Good win for Wexford over Down. Down is always a tricky tie with Natasha Ferris up front there. Ciara Banville, I think, got the goal for Wexford, if memory serves me correctly. So brilliant result for them. Brilliant result for Roscommon beating Louth. I didn't expect that margin of victory, 11 points. I think Aisling Feely's been brilliant. Aisling Hanley's been really, really good as well for Roscommon. And they were Division 2 side last year, so they're going to be aiming to get back up again. And Offaly, brilliant result for them against Antrim. And Antrim were kind of on a crest of a wave with Lara Huntsy in midfield and all them, Granny McLaughlin, of course. So Antrim do have very good players. So for Offaly to go on and win that game is brilliant for them. But yeah, good results there. But I think Clare would probably be a big team to go up in Division 3.
Yeah, no, Clare definitely for me have to go up. Probably would be tipping Roscommon to go with them after a result like that because they had a great win over Down in the first game as well. Then moving on to the basement division, Division 4, which of course actually is in its round 3. They kicked off a week before everybody else. And look at this scoreline. Leitrim 8-9, Derry 7 points in Forhanval in Derry. Absolutely sensational victory for Leitrim there. They've now scored 14 goals in 3 games. Absolutely outrageous stuff. Fermanagh beat Wicklow 2-15 to 2-7. I'm surprised Fermanagh are there when you consider they have the likes of Emer Smith, Brenda Bannon, and Blaheen Bogue. Like, they have some cracking players in Fermanagh. What are they doing in Division 4? But they look like they could be on their way out of it along with Leitrim. That's what I'm predicting. Limerick beat Kilkenny 1-9 to 1 point in Fiorhanna Castlemahon. And Carlow and Longford drew 1-8 each in Netwatch Cullen Park.
Yeah, I catch a result for Leitrim there. 8-9 to score in 1 game and 14 goals, as you mentioned, in 3 games, which is absolutely remarkable. I think it's 14 goals and 35 points. I counted it earlier there because I do scores for Division 4. And get this, one of their forwards, what I counted anyway now, this is only me counting stats and stuff like that on Twitter. Leah Fox for Leitrim has scored a total in 3 games of 6 goals and 5 points.
Yeah,
that's all. That's absolutely incredible. And fair play to Leah for scoring that. I think Michelle Gokin has scored 1 goal and 13 points as well. They're all chipping in. It's been a brilliant campaign for Leitrim so far. They look really, really good. Fermanagh as well. And get this for Fermanagh, I didn't actually count the Carlow game in match day 2 because there's been no match report on that. But if you disregard that game and count Fermanagh's other 2 games, Emer Smith has scored a total of 2 goals and 22 points. That's an average of 111 per game. It's mental. It's unreal. And she's been one of the top scorers for Fermanagh over the last few years. Brenda Bannon's been brilliant in midfield, obviously. Blaheen Bogue, I watched her in the junior final a few years ago, and I think she was one of the best players on the pitch in Croke Park that day. So how are they in the war? I actually don't know. But I think, genuinely, I think it's going to be Fermanagh and Leitrim that are going to be challenging for the Division 4 crown. Limerick look good as well. Iris Keneally has done well over the last few weeks. And Limerick got to the junior final last year. They want to build on that. But Limerick could be dark horses, but I think Fermanagh and Leitrim will be the front runners in this division. Like, they're absolutely racking up incredible tallies at the moment.
Yeah, no, they definitely have to be the favourites. You can't rack up tallies like that and not be the favourites. But yeah, we've ran through it all. We've ran through the opening round of the Allianz Football Leagues, and we've ran through the second round and third round, respectively, of the Lidl LGFA Leagues for 2024. It's been an hour and 15. Thank you so much to Matthew for coming on. Thank you so much to anybody that joined us over the hour and 15. Go check out Matthew's channel, Gaelic Statsman, if you haven't already, but I don't know how you wouldn't have seen it. But yeah, until the next one, guys, here on Cluiche, Torara.